Thank you very much for staying right till the very end. It's been exactly a year, actually, that I've made this body of work. And when I was making it, I was at Anderson Ranch in Colorado at a residency. And the visiting artists and critics that would come in would immediately engage me on, process and product and theory and practice. And that was all wonderful and, really stimulating and very comfortable for me because, the way I think about cultural artifacts is I examine them through different lenses, using sort of the methodologies associated with the field of visual studies is something that I'm very familiar with and very comfortable with, and it's a very good starting place for me. And that's a great conversation to have at another time. Tonight, I just really want to share with you a simple motivating factor in how I think and how I make work. And it's this. I just really, really, really like to look at copies of copies of copies of copies of copies. The multiple for me is conceptual and it is an intellectual commodity. When images get reproduced over and over again, they begin to fragment, they begin to lose themselves. And in this sort of process of degradation almost, there is this wonderful, wonderful potential for establishing new meaning on a simultaneous kind of level. So the best example is, of course, I didn't have the original Goyas to make these, right? Obviously, I specifically chose a catalog resume of all his etchings from 1920. So all the boundaries that you see of the figures are very, very blurry. The sort of crisp lines of the intaglio are fuzzed over with the moire dot pattern of the offset lithographic process of printing. And it's in these fluxes that I think I find the most creative license to access and to reevaluate boundaries, visual representation, and narrative text. And I try to make them relevant to who I am, and I try to make them relevant for today. This guy, he's about to be shot, and in my world, he's desperately dying for a shot of vodka. And my partner's wearing another guy. Will you show them your peoples? He's hanging, he's dead from a tree, and in my world, he's the invisible, non-acknowledged partner in a relationship that's not, recognized. I've done this with Goya, and I've also done this with Audubon, and I've done this with Currier and Ives, and I've done this with Albrecht Dürer, and I'm currently working on a piece that involves Hogarth. The working title for this sort of body of work or series of projects is called Desire and the Democratic Image. And I think I've got the democratic image part down pretty well. It's the desire part, I think, that keeps me going in that, I'm always trying to establish who we are as people on a ground or in a landscape that is always shifting politically, socially, and culturally. Questions?
Have you ever, have people said anything about they're surprised by how you're taking the image and then totally changing it for another? I mean, like Goya, if Goya were alive today, how he would feel?
Oh, he would. I mean, let's just not even talk about Goya. Let's talk about the Chapman brothers. I mean, this is pure humor. It's a pure riff on a sculptural project that was so expensive to produce, and here you have these like little, delicate, really effeminate paper doll cutouts. It's contextualizing an artifact and making it specific to my experiences, and then in presenting it to you as the viewer, you know, it doesn't matter that it comes from a place of queerness or otherness. It's really about who you are in relation to this, you know, and that's basically what I do with each set of images that I try to think through.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why you chose Goya?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm dying to you.
How much easier is it to like trace an etching than a lithograph, right?
It's not for the political.
No, it was for the political stuff, but there's also other printmakers who do this. I mean,
Yeah.
Damier was another key contender for.
Yes. Let me tell you
Yeah.
something. At first,
Yeah.
I cracked up, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really funny. I really like the work of Goya. I'm like, it's disrespectful. It's so funny. And then I got it even better. You're just making another political statement.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I heard what you had to say.
The political statements are varied. One, I have to firmly acknowledge the place of humor in queer history, in that it was and has always been used as a subversive social tactic. So, secondly, because I'm making you laugh, hopefully, it's an entry point for you to be comfortable and to reassess what I'm reassessing. Thirdly, on a more practical reason, like I said, you know, I look at a lot of prints. I look at a lot of multiples when I think about what artifacts I'm deciding to use in my studio practice. And honestly, like, you know, there's a payoff. Cut out an etching or try to trace around some fuzzy bad reproduction of Damier, you know, so Spain or France, you know. Same thing with Curry and Ives. I mean, a key contender was the Norman Rockwells, right? But with that project, I was inserting the anonymous figure of Angel Cowboy into this beautiful, you know, picturesque landscape that Curry or Ives, you know, has always depicted, you know, as America, heroic, triumphant, victorious.